Everyone associates Betamax with Sony, but they were not the only players in the game back in the 1980s. In fact, Sanyo, NEC, and Toshiba also manufactured Betamax machines. Sanyo was probably the biggest competitor to Sony. They produced a lot of them. Toshiba NEC, not as many. And today we have a Toshiba. This is the first time I've looked at one of these on the channel. I did repair a few of them back in the day, but they were not very good machines. Let's check it out. I have another Betamax. This is not in for service. This one actually was given to me. And normally I wouldn't give it second thoughts. I'll probably sell it. Get it working if I can. Sell it. It's a mono Betamax. I really don't have much use for it. But it is a Toshiba. One of the other companies that made Beta equipment. So there was Sony, and then Sanyo also made Betamax machines. NEC was the third company, and Toshiba was also involved in manufacturing Beta equipment. I think that was the four of them. Sony, Sanyo, Toshiba, NEC. We're going to open this one up, see what the differences are between this and, say, a Sony and a Sanyo, and see the similarities. There will be both similarities and differences, because all the companies did things different. Like Sanyo, for example, their early machines kept the tape laced, but their later machines, because they were making VHS machines for Fisher, they decided, well, why have two different microcontrollers? We'll just use the same microcontroller that's used for the VHS machine on the Beta machine, and the machines became an unlacing machine that unlaced every time you change modes. This one here should stay laced. Let's pop the lid. This machine still has the original plastic film that came from the factory. It was never removed. I don't know about you guys, but one of the first things I ever did was remove the plastic film. But this one's still got it, so the cabinet itself will be in great shape. So here's the inner workings of this machine. Does it look familiar? Yes, it does, actually. It's got a loading belt back here, loading gear, your main threading gear here. Motor here, this is probably capstan motor. Yeah, this would be capstan motor. Drum motor, I would think, is probably direct drive on this. It would be direct drive. Capstan motor is belt drive. There's another motor over here for the loading of the front loading mechanism. I will find a Beta tape that I can sacrifice, because I don't know what this is going to do. First things first, let's try applying power. It turns on. That's a good sign. This thing might even work. You know, it could very well work. We'll just try loading a. Okay, there it goes. Well, so far so good. That part works. How about fast forward? Tape's not moving. Yeah, so I guess play's probably not going to work. It's probably going to eat the tape. Oh, play's not working either. Okay. Well, I guarantee it's going to probably eat the tape now when I hit eject. Where's the eject on this one? Somewhere around here there's a button to get the tape out. I just got to find it. Is it, where the heck is the eject button? Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's probably going to eat the tape. I bet you belts are toast. I'll be quick on the plug to pull the plug if it starts to eat, because I don't want to chew up my tape. But we'll see what happens here. Oh, it started to. Well, it's winding the tape in. Okay, maybe it won't eat the tape, but it's not moving the tape, that's for sure. Okay, it didn't eat the tape, but it certainly didn't move it. I guess I have to pull the bottom off it. Why am I doing it this way? We have power tools in the shop. Okay, what have I missed? Nothing. Oh, yeah, there's... there's no belt. That's a direct drive motor. That one drives the reels, but... Yeah, the belt is... belt's on a permanent vacation. Wunderbar, as they say. Okay, well... It's, my hands are going to turn all black. But I can remove that capstan, remove the bracket here. I gotta take it out to put a belt on anyway, but at least that way I can remove this and try to clean it up without getting completely filthy. No, I'm gonna get filthy. Yeah, great. Let me go clean this mess up. I don't know if I'm gonna have a belt that'll fit. I might, probably don't, but it's interesting. They got a. This is the. There's a. I guess there's a tone wheel on the bottom here. You can see it. I'll show it to you once I clean it up. If you want to wonder what I'm going to use to clean this mess, it takes it off pretty good. Look at that. Spray some on my paper. And this will remove this crap. See, you do learn something from me once in a while. It'll take it off my fingers too, by the way. I'll clean this off and then I'll use alcohol to get the WD-40 off. You see? Look at that. Look at that. Look how bad it was. Now it's clean. For all you guys that wonder about melting belts, that's the secret. You can take it off with You can take it off with baby oil too, by the way. Baby oil will take pretty much anything off. Tar, you name it. But this stuff will take it off your fingers too quite easily, and your hands. Now don't go throwing your WD-40 soaked rags in the garbage, because you've heard of spontaneous combustion, right? You get oil on a rag and yeah, you got to kind of let it air out or whatever. Don't be throwing it in with the trash unless you like a visit from the fire department at 3 o'clock in the morning when your garbage can catches fire. And that can happen. We clean off the pulley here as well, and pick up any of those little pieces. I'm not too worried about the pieces that are stuck on the chassis because they're not going to go nowhere. If I can get them off, then I will. And get my screwdriver all black at the same time. That was a smart move. Wonderful. I got the flywheel for the capstan relatively clean enough. As I mentioned before, this is a flywheel, or this has a tone generator on it, not a flywheel, it is a flywheel. You'll see it here. And then there's little teeth along here. And what that does is, as this spins, it induces a frequency into here, which is picked up by a coil, and that is your frequency generator that tells the servo how fast the capstan is turning. And then they can apply a correction voltage to a really cheap DC motor, and then they didn't have to invest in an expensive 3-phase direct drive motor like they do on the drum, like Sony did. Because, you know, Toshiba were cheap. we used to call Toshiba Toshiba. They had cheap crap. Anyway. Ooh. Oh, that bearing sounds good. I better put some oil down there. I get the suspicion here that even after I change the belt, it's still going to be, it's not going to be great. There, at least quietens that bearing down a bit. I'm going to look through my used belts and see what I can find. See if I can find one that's going to fit on this, you know, because, well, I don't have a new belt in the size that this is going to require. And no, I'm not going to buy one. Because, you know, this machine may not even work. I just want to see whether I can make it do something other than nothing. I'd say it's in sad shape. Will this belt fit? This one might fit. Let's just check this one out. Will this belt fit? First one out of the box might be the right size belt for this thing. Boy, that might fit. Let's just see if I got any others that are any closer. That was the first belt I grabbed. That one's way too long. That one might work on my SL 7200. That was too thick. That's a reel-to-reel belt of all things, and that's another one that's the wrong size. No, I think that that first belt that I grabbed is going to be the one that I'm going to put on here, because this one's going to be obviously too big. Yeah, it's country mile. Okay, so I got lucky. I got one that'll fit. So we'll pop this belt in, or pop this belt on, I should say, and then see what this thing will do, if anything. Okay, that goes on there. This is a nylon bearing here, so I don't have to put any oil on that. Just drop it back on. See whether this thing will do anything more than it was doing before. It's not going to fast forward and rewind. I'm sure that the tire itself is probably also tired. Ha ha, bad pun. The tire is tired. Alright, let's turn this thing over and see if it does anything different than before. Still pieces of black crap that's going to come out of here and get on the floor, and I'm going to step on it, track it in the house, and then I'll be up Schitt's Creek. In case anybody missed the date, it was made, the cabinet was made by Nauru's Plastic Industries Co. It says material manufacturers NSC, and it says part name chassis frame, and it was made June 27th, 1984, according to the info that's printed on the back right there. So now you know when it was made. Now this doesn't, I don't see an item or tire in here. There must be one somewhere. There's got to be a tire. I see a gear in there. I don't see a tire, but I think there's got to be one. I'll just remove some screws and see what falls off. I'd like to see what's under this this loader assembly, elevator front loader, whatever you want to call it. The flim. I remember we used to mark things when we fixed them, replaced or repaired FLM, flim. People would say, "What's the flim?" And the joke was, "Oh, it's the flim flom that we fixed to fix the flim flom front loader." Okay, what else is holding this up? More screws. What? What? They use more than 4 screws to hold the front loader in place? Shame on you, Toshiba. You cheap out every other way and you put extra screws in it. I just remember these machines were the machines that, you know, heads wore out so quick on Toshiba. And then they had this little heater on there that would keep the drum warm. It's like, why? Like these things, the drum would be hot, and it would actually, I think, damage the tape. It's like, why? Why do you have a heater on top of it to dry out the moisture? I don't know. I never understood Toshiba. I never really liked the brand, but it made good money fixing a lot of their TVs that, you know, broke down long before they should have because, you know, failed red capacitors on them. Okay, that unplugs. Okay, there is a tire here that is driven from this motor. I wonder how this comes off. It will lift off. I can just sense that. I think I got to remove that clip. I like to take this tire off and just, I don't know, abuse it a bit, because I know that when I put it into fast forward, this drops back, and it's supposed to, on play and search, it's driven through the gear, because this will be a clutch. You see, the gear is on a slip clutch, but for, oh look, they just fall right off, like nothing holding it in place. Really, no clips, just the hubs would just lift right off. Yeah, that's Toshiba for you. Nothing to hold them in place. They'll just fall right out. Yeah. As I say, they were just cheap garbage. I forgot how bad these bloody things were. They were just junk. Just, you know, like, would you ever see Sony produce something like this? No. They just use plastic parts that break. But at least they don't fall apart on their own. Like this one, you know, nothing holds it in place. I think if I remove this, I can remove this gear, and then when I remove that gear, I'll be able to remove that tire, because that's what's holding it in place. There we go. Okay, move that out of the way. Lift this off, and then this will lift off, because, you know, that's how they make these things. I've got a small belt that will fit on here. I'm going to try gluing this on. I don't know if it'll work or not, but we're going to try. And I'll let this thing set up and see if this little belt that fits perfectly around the edge there, see whether that will glue into place and whether it'll hold it. We'll try that. I'll let this thing set up for a while, and then we'll put it back together and try that. Put the tire back on right now. Let's see whether this has more torque. Oh yeah, it has a lot more torque. I'm gonna let the I gotta let the glue dry though, because otherwise, right now, if I try to test it, it'll probably just pull it right off. So we'll let the glue set up. It's going to take it a while, I'm sure, to dry. I'm using an acetate-based glue, so hopefully that will melt into the rubber a bit, and we'll see whether that will hold it. I'll set it back on here. I think I could probably do that. I think I can probably put that back on without running it. I'll just set it back on here for now, and we'll just let it dry for a few hours before I try it out. But I'll put this on. I'm going to put the basket back in, but I'm not going to try anything. I'm not going to plug it in. I'm going to let it set for, I might even let it set overnight, just to make sure that everything is completely set up, and then we'll try it in the morning and see whether it works. Okay, this has been drying now for a while. Let's see whether it's going to work. I guess it all depends on the glue, if the glue holds up. Looks like it's turning to me. forward search, reverse search, rewind. Back on fast forward, you can see things are moving along pretty good. It's a little bit noisy there at first, but it's starting to settle down. So hopefully this will last. I glued it on, just for you guys wondering what I use for glue. I just use standard number 2 glue. I've had this for years. It's just standard, you know, white glue. That's what I use to attach that flat belt over the dead idler. I've tried other glues before. Super glue doesn't seem to work that well. Rubber cement. This one here, well, we'll see how long it lasts, but it's not tearing it up, so that's a good sign. Everything's still moving along here quite nicely. I'm going to throw the top on this and throw the bottom on it and see how it performs with the plasma interference. So let me throw the bottom on it now. What a piss poor design this machine is as far as shielding goes. Look at this. It's still getting severe interference from the plasma. It's this one over here. I don't think it's the Pioneer that's doing it. It's the monitor. If I turn the monitor off, well, it's still there, but maybe the tracking is off a bit. It's getting interference from this plasma as well. But watch when the plasma comes on. Yeah, it's bad, and I got the top cover on, and it's screwed down, so the shielding is like the grounding is present, and it's still bad. There it is on the CRT with the plasmas turned off. Actually, one plasma is still on. The actual Panasonic one I'm using as the viewfinder is still on, so it must have been a combination of both. I'll turn it off. You see, there's no interference at all. But even with the Panasonic plasma that I use as my viewfinder, which was causing a lot of interference when it was displaying on the other set, it's on now. I don't see much interfering with it now. Very little. I'll turn it off.
To just before horizontal frequency, which is 15,734, we have.
Anyway, and I got the cover off of it now, so just the two plasmas running were throwing so much noise that this was picking it up. If I bring my hand near the head drum, I might get some, because I got the top off now. I'm getting a little bit there, right? I can see a little bit of it on the screen. If you look near the top up here, I'll turn the plasma off, and it goes away. But yeah, these plasma sets throw a lot of interference out that were picked up by the sensitive video amplifier for the head preamp. And even with all the covers on, well, the top cover's off now, but even with the bottom cover on, that provides shielding. There's still a significant amount of plastic on the back which is not shielded at all, and just the interference gets through. That was Toshiba though. They weren't typically that great as far as, these were cheap machines. Yeah, they may have had a metal chassis on it, but the machine itself was pretty cheap. But there it is. It's working. Forward search is working. Reverse search, or back to play. Reverse search.
Narrow bandwidth, I think it's only what, about 5 kHz?
I don't know how to switch the thing to auxiliary in to get rid of that static from the tuner that doesn't pick anything up. What do? Plug something in to switch over, or probably plug something in? Yeah, you see, look at how bad this machine was. You actually had to plug something in to switch the sound and picture over. Yeah, that kills it. That kills the static. Right? So they didn't even have an AV input switch on this. If you wanted to record something from another VCR or from a camera or something, you actually had to physically plug it in, and then you had to physically unplug it to go back to using the tuner. Talk about a cheap crap design. Like, how much effort would have been to put a switch on there so you could switch between your inputs and tuner? Oh well, that was Toshiba. Rewind the tape back now, and we'll call this one done. To say this was my machine, it was given to me. It doesn't really have any value. I'll put this up for sale. It's working now. It's got new belts in it, or a new belt, and a new idler, a renewed idler. As you can see, it's rewinding perfect. Alright, this is fixed as far as I'm going to fix it. To say it's not really worth anything, so I'll leave it at that with the glued tire and a replaced belt. And we'll say catch you in the next one. Bye.